I have been saving the best for last. I wanted to take this episode to fully explore the Rob Zombie Halloween films and its subsequent backlash. So after the epic fail of Resurrection, executives were looking for a new way to take the franchise. In comes Rob Zombie, musician, filmmaker, and revivalist of the Halloween Horror Nights. He has a great idea for a serial killer character study. The board likes it, but feels it just needs something to sell the idea, like a recognizable property. Seeing that they didn't have a Halloween film in a while, they fused the ideas together. Like all great franchises, they inevitably reboot them, or even remake them. Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw, Friday the 13th, all got the same treatment. But none of these have been more talked about than Rob Zombie's treatment of the franchise, some even claiming it fully disrespects the namesake. With the blessing of Carpenter himself, how could it go wrong? Do I agree with the outrage? Let's find out. And also for clarification, I am viewing the unrated director's cut of the film, the way it was meant to be. The film oddly starts off with a prequel of sorts, giving the backstory of Michael Myers. For many, this was a big part of the contention right off the bat. As mentioned before, what worked for the original was not knowing the origin. But what sets this aside from other origin takes is that this isn't really an origin. What I admire about this film is that the film takes Michael and analyzes it from a character's perspective. However, what throws a wrench into this plan is because of the backstory we're given, it makes us more sympathetic to the character. Seeing that he is bullied at school, has a trashy family whose father is abusive, it just makes us sympathetic for a person who we are supposed to fear. I like the fact that Dr. Loomis was there from the start, showing how close he was to the boy before he turned into the monster we would eventually know. The scenes at the hospital are great to emphasize how important their relationship was to each other. I've always been a big fan of psychology, and this film really explores why Michael feels like he needs to wear a mask. It also helps that Michael McDermott does a decent job as Dr. Loomis. However, I would have liked Robert Englund in the role. One part that I kind of connect to emotionally in this film is the suicide of Michael's mother. To see a parent lose so much, seeing her son go down a terrible path, it made me genuinely sad to see her lose hope in her son. The whole first act of this film is an origin story for Michael, but the rest plays out like an adaptation of the original. While the score is used in the film, it is rare to hear it. There are times when they use a bland horror music soundtrack. The film has an odd habit of using shaky cam when it needs to get more of its violent scenes. I understand why they did it, but I could care less for it. Once the first act ends, we get into Michael's escape, which is heavily different in both the theatrical and director's cuts. The original just had him kill a couple guards, and in this one the film shows him killing some rapist janitors, and even his own friend he had. This is also where I should add that Taylor Maine as Michael is quite possibly the best choice for the role. He is the most physical out of the lot that has played the character, and he sells it. He is tall, physical, and could kick my ass any day. He is physically imposing, which sells this version of the character very well. The music at times is just generic stock horror music, but then in others they randomly throw in the Halloween theme. It is a bit haphazard. And now we come to the part that really made fans mad. The dialogue and Laurie Strode. For me, many of the people are unsympathetic assholes. Even Laurie, whom we are supposed to care about, is so vulgar that it comes off as annoying. Only in Rob Zombie's universe is the dialogue supposed to be perverse and overtly profane. I'm alright with cussing and all the trashiness, but in the first 10 minutes we are brutalized with obscenities that makes the characters dull. The cinematography is good in the movie, but there are times when I can't see a damn thing because of the darkness. There was really an effort to build atmosphere and suspense in the film, but with the brutality of Michael in this film, it kind of undercuts that sense of tension. The ending of the film felt very definitive for the franchise, however, it really didn't appear to be. I have nothing against Rob. He has his own style and lens to view the world. It is an acquired taste, and if you're in for the dark, trashy underworld of America with dialogue that is a tad cringe, then this film is for you. As a new take for the franchise, I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't reinvent itself as a new it does reinvent itself as a new contemporary white trash version of itself, but in doing so, I just felt it just loses some of the charm that the original had. It was a very nice try that wasn't that good, but it wasn't fully terrible either. Rob Zombie's Halloween gets a C. 2 years after the much divisive and critically appalled Rob Zombie's Halloween, somehow if the ending wasn't definitive enough, producers saw money signs and said, Hey Rob, you want to do another film? And he agreed, and gave us Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Is this the film that killed the franchise? Well, obviously not, because there's still a new one from Blumhouse in October. But let's answer the question anyway. This will also be the unrated director's cut, just like the last film. The first 20 minutes is pretty good, with it feeling like a Halloween film. The tension as Laurie tries to get away from Michael in the hospital, it's very reminiscent of Rosenthal's Halloween 2, but it all goes wrong when it is revealed that it was all just a dream. And what are we left with? What we are left with is a 2-year time skip, examining the lives of those affected by Michael Myers. Laurie now lives with her friend Annie with Officer Brad Dorff. She goes to therapy with Lois Lane. Dr. Loomis becomes a self-absorbed celebrity of the macabre, boasting his tale of the Michael Myers incident for profit, and Michael becomes a hobo, eating off the land, not wearing his mask. However, because there aren't enough characters, we get some brand new characters who are unfortunately nothing more than cannon fodder. But what really trips people up in this film is the dream sequences. It seems like they would be Michael's dreams, but they're also Laurie's dreams. Or are they? Rob didn't pull this out of his ass, however. What I assume he was going for was what Halloween 5 did with Jamie Lloyd, having this pseudo-psychological connection that connects Michael and Laurie, or should I say, Angel Myers. One of the biggest drives of this film is showing Laurie go into a deep dive of madness. It is through those dream sequences, the events of the film and the therapy sessions, and the ending that solidifies the madness journey. But this kind of backfires as Laurie's actor can't fully pull off this aspect. It actually comes off as a hilarious cringe joke. A lot of fans don't like the fact that Michael doesn't wear his mask throughout most of the film, but there are tons of parts where he is clothed in shadow. I kind of like the fact that this film shows what Michael does outside of Halloween. He is a survivalist hobo, but when he needs to be a killer, he just puts on the mask as a veil of sorts. Remember, in the first film, Michael uses the mask to avoid reality. The mask works as his sort of safe space for him to kill. This film really felt like a betrayal to the character Loomis. Between Rob's first film and the second, it just felt inconsistent. I guess it was for a different take, which I think it works. The actions we take have an equal and opposite reaction in reality. With Loomis, he may have saved Laurie, but because of his action to make a book and profit off the tragedy, it makes Michael pissed, and leaves Laurie feeling betrayed and shocked that the person she was attacked was her brother, and she felt even more betrayed because her savior was also her jailer. I feel that this revelation is more shocking and more interesting from a character's perspective. In the original Halloween 2, she just has vivid dreams about her connection to Michael. Here, the revelation is more devastating, and why shouldn't it be? I mean, if you were related to a serial killer, wouldn't it just definitely just ruin you? Oh yeah, by the way, this movie has Weird Al. Certainly a new weird direction for LL Cool J and Busta Rhymes' cameos. The editing in this film is a bit sporadic at times, with slow motion and sped up footage. The cinematography this time around is decent, but the script, dialogue, and majority of the characters are really fudged. To sum up this two-film set, the major problem with the zombie films is not the reinvention or the scripts, Michael's look, or anything superficial or sub-level. It is this that is pointed out by Count Jacula.
But it has one cripplingly awful flaw. Take a look at the cover. You see that? Right there. There! That's the problem with the movie. You see it? It's the fact that it's a Halloween movie. These should never have been Halloween movies. It should have been an all-new property with a new iconic killer.
I actually agree with the sentiment. The biggest problem of these films is the act that they are Halloween films. I believe that this could have really been a compelling character study if they were a new intellectual property. But because it has the IP, it just taints the legacy that many people still love. It was originally slated that there would be a Rob Zombie Halloween 3, but since then, it had been in development hell, and now we're getting a new sequel. I'm going to give Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 a D+. No matter the timeline, characters we follow, or who is playing Michael, 40 years has really changed the franchise. Halloween, despite its storied history, has most certainly affected the horror genre forever. And now with the upcoming reboot set to take the stage in October, we could see a new paradigm in the franchise, the pure retcon. But until then, make sure to take care, trick-or-treaters, because this Halloween, it may be your last.